events was started recording. Recording was started.
Usman, a very good afternoon. How are you? How are you?
I am good, ma. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. Okay, I think we can start the class. Okay, right?
Yes, ma. Yes, we can start.
Okay, okay. Just give 2 minutes time. Huh?
Okay, ma.
Is the slide visible?
Yes, ma.
The PPT is visible, right?
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Okay, then I think I can go ahead. Okay. So, see, like I have taken your TS-1. So, I this is your TS-5, and this is all about ecology, environment, and tourism. Okay. So, very good afternoon to you once again. Good morning. It's good morning for you. Like
Good afternoon.
Yes, this is TS-5. TS-5 is about ecology, environment, and tourism, right? So there are total around 9 blocks, and in this 9 blocks, there are 31 units, and I had been given around 7 to 8 classes, in which I'll try to explain. Maybe all chapters won't be I won't be able to explain in details because time is also a constraint, but surely I'll try my best. So initially I just wanted to tell you, wherever you find any difficulties or you have any queries, you can just write it down. Maybe in today's class, after the class gets over, we can discuss, or maybe for the next tomorrow, like tomorrow I'll be having a class, we can discuss on that particular subject, particular area where you have any where you need any clarifications, right? So as I told you, there are 9 blocks, and one sec, huh? The slide is not moving, that's
It's visible. It's visible.
first one is visible, but the next one is not. I don't know what happened. One sec. Now is it visible? Is it okay?
Yes, ma. It's visible.
Okay, okay, fine. So we have, in TS-5, that is about ecology, environment, and tourism. There are around 9 blocks. And first, block one would explain about our environment. That is an introduction. Second, block two, we have environment and conservation. Third block is environmental issues and tourism development. Block 4 is about environment, community, and tourism. And block 5th is tourism as a tool for communication. And block 6 is about policy and infrastructure. Block 7 is about pressure and thresholds. Block 8 is environmental impact, as well as block 9 is also about environmental impact. Now, there are around 31 units. In this 31 units, I have divided, like total there are 31 units. In the first, today I'll be just discussing about unit 1, but the rest will be dividing among the next 6 classes. The first unit 1 is about our environment. Second one is unit 2, linkages in nature. Third one is biomes of the world. Fourth one is communities in nature. Fifth one is about conservation through ages. Then comes environmental parameters and tourism. Unit 7 deals with Indian philosophy and environment. Unit 8 is all about environment and development. Unit 9 is concepts of development. 10th is responsible tourism. The other name of ecotourism is also responsible tourism. So, what are the benefits of responsible tourism? We'll be learning it in Unit 10. Unit 11 is about access, infrastructure, and land use. 12 is about community and regional assets. 13 is about multiplier effect. What are the benefits? What are the consequences? What are the challenges you face? And adversity. Then Unit 14 is about practice and potential. 15 is about site and locational planning. 16 is uneven regional or national planning. 17 is about alternatives. And Unit 18 is tourism policy and its impact. Infrastructure is Unit 19. 20 is environmental degradation and tourism. Unit 21 is on acts and laws. Unit 22 is politics of environment. Unit 23 is identifying pressures and understanding thresholds. Unit 24 is host or local population. Unit 25 is vision behavior. Unit 26 is vegetation and wildlife. Unit 27 is on mountains. Unit 28 is wetlands. 29, islands and beaches. Unit 30, sports, adventure, golf, water. And last one is hotel and resorts. It's a very interesting unit. And so after reading this unit, you will be able to appreciate the difference between ecology, environment, and ecosystem. And secondly, you'll understand the characteristics of environment and environmental factors. Third one is you'll be learning about the interdependence of living organisms within the environment. Know about slow and fast changes in environment with time, and understand the role of modern humans in changing the environment. So before I move to explain what is about ecology, environment and ecosystem, I would just like to say state that tourism, why we have this environment in the tourism subject, the question may arise, you might be wondering why we are learning about environment, because environment plays a very important role in tourism. Tourism and environment, they have a very mutual beneficial relationship. And today's tourist journey are motivated by the environment's nature, natural, cultural, historical, social, climate potential, a clean, modified environment. These all cannot survive without the quality of tourism. So you need to, there is always a link between environment and the tourism, and it's a, there are a lot of natural resources, and the more is recommended to keep them unaltered as much as possible, because you might be, you might be knowing there is a natural, you might have some seen some environment where you'll find natural sites, where you'll find man-made sites. Man-made sites are basically, they are being constructed by human beings, whereas natural sites, the beaches, the waterfalls, those are very natural sites. So in order to protect them, in order to safeguard them, it is very necessary that you should also take care of the environment. Because if you have a destination where tourists wanted to go, at the same time, if the inflow of tourists is much more in that particular destination, then the destination's natural beauty would be spoiled. So that is a very important. And the thing is that, we are been blessed that, the whole world has lot of natural resources. So the more interesting natural resources are of for tourism, and the activities generated by them are more valuable and appealing. So it is very necessary that we should know about the environment. And as you know that tourism is a major economic sector, comprised a variety of activities, and the main goal is to meet the needs of the tourists. So tourists, on the other hand, they do not represent a homogeneous set of customers. As a result, what happens, they interact with the destination surrounding in a variety of ways, depending on their attitudes, the motivations, the perceptions, the expectations, and so on. So, as a result, tourists can utterly unconcerned about the environment and its problems. Whereas, on the other hand, they may experience a strong bond with the destination's environment. So, as a result, they will always make an effort to integrate and safeguard it. So, improving the impact of tourism on the environment. Now, another thing is, I just wanted to mention that tourism can always help to improve the environmental issues by adopting some pro-environmental attitudes and appropriate behavior during the development of tourist activities. Those may be, use of less polluting transportation means in tourist travels. Sometimes you may find it's a very natural resource, the destination is, a virgin destination, but if the inflow of tourists is much there, then the natural beauty of that destination gets spoiled. Suppose, you have a some waterfalls are there, then some marine, like you have some aquatic fishes, animals and all. So if, people keep on visiting, if people come on, it would destroy the virginity of that area. So the use of less polluting transportation means in tourist travels increase attention to behavior that could harm the environment when they spend time in the middle of nature. Then third one is increased attention to lowering power, energy and water consumption. And fourth one is to agree to pay an ecological tax or to devote a percentage of their income tax to decrease the effects of the environment, to safeguard the environment in general. So, all this is related to environment. And of course, when I told you, like in one unit, we are having about responsible tourism. Responsible tourism is all about ecotourism. And why environment is very important, because ecotourism is such a form of tourism which is also known as responsible tourism, where you need to, where the tourists get the opportunity to have their, spend their time to the natural areas. They have to conserve the environment and, of course, improving the well being of the local people. Is it audible, na? Am I audible? Am I audible? Yes, I think so. Okay. Yes, 1 minute. Anyway, ecotourism focuses on what advocates define as socially responsible travel, personal growth, and environmental sustainability. The reason I have taken this term ecotourism because it is related to the environment. Now we were going to study what is about how to safeguard the environment and what are the components of environment. So there comes ecology, environment and ecosystem. What is ecology? Ecology is basically the study of relationship between the organisms and the environment. There are organisms, there are plants, there are animals which are producers, and there are also the ones which are consumers. Okay, so these two are very important. And if you say what is environment, basically environment, your surrounding, you have to have an interaction between the physical, chemical and biological components. And this environmental issues, there's pollution. What is pollution? Lots of vehicles are there, lots of buildings are coming up. So as a result, it's affecting the particular destination, particular tourism spot. It's polluting the natural beauty. Then there is deforestation, then there is global warming and other broader issues. So we need to safeguard the environment. Then comes the ecosystem. Now, when we talk about ecosystem, it's very much related. It's a geographic area where you'll find plants, where you'll find animals, where you'll find organisms, as well as, you'll find living organisms, living beings, as well as non-living, such as you'll also find the weather, the landscape, the buildings. They all work together to form a bubble of life. So ecosystems contain both biotic or living parts as well as abiotic factors which are non-living parts. So you can say environment, this ecosystem consists of both biotic as well as abiotic. What are biotic? Biotic are basically living organisms like plants, animals, human beings and all. Whereas abiotic factors are like non-living parts, but they are also very necessary, like the weather, the landscape and all. See, you cannot stop the rain, it will rain. Okay, at some places you will find flood is there, so it's polluting the environment. When there is a flood or something, it's destroying the natural beauty. Too much flood, it would result, it would hamper the particular destination. So all this together makes the ecosystem, both the biotic as well as the abiotic factors. They together form the ecosystem. So at the same time, we need to study the food chain in a wetland areas. Now, ecology and environment ensure the enrichment of a world. They are interconnected. Now, they are both vital for ensuring that the well-being and prosperity of human beings. They not only give us knowledge of the relationship between humans, nature, animals, but they also teach us how to stay in harmony with the nature. You know, we have to stay in harmony with the nature. But sometimes the question comes, do we stay in harmony with the environment? Do we stay in harmony with the nature? No. We cut trees, there's deforestation taking places. The trees are being cut, and in place of that, buildings are coming up, high rise buildings are coming up. We all human beings, we all inhale oxygen, and carbon dioxide, we take out carbon, we breathe out carbon dioxide. Whereas the plants, which form the biotic factors, they they inhale carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. Now if this doesn't matter, there's a saying, something is very, whatever you wanted to buy, we have to pay for that, whether it is our food, or whether it's our clothes, or whether it's the upbringing, or if you wanted to go for some entertainment, we have to pay for that. But one thing is free. Can you tell me what is free, where which you don't need to pay? Ahmad? Is it, I mean, can you understand? Is it visible to you? Ahmad Abdullah?
Ma, we can't hear you well. It's not audible. We can't hear you
It's
well.
not,
The voice, yes,
the voice is breaking. Is it audible now?
yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
See, Ahmad, when it is not audible or not visible, you just tell me. Okay. Right. You just,
It's audible now. We can hear you now.
now it is audible. And is the slide
No,
visible? Slides are
yes,
visible?
ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. So,
Uh-huh.
so now, my question was, whatever, whether it is food or whether it is, the dress we wear, the outfits we wear, the food we eat, we go for entertainment like watching movies and all, going to different destinations, we pay for that. Yes, very much we pay for that, because unless and until in lieu of that, we won't be able to get anything. But something is always free. You don't need to pay for that. That is the air, that is the oxygen. We all human beings inhale oxygen, and oxygen is abundant. But how, there should also be plants. If plants are not there, then oxygen won't be possible, oxygen won't be there. So we have to take care of our nature, take care of the environment. Now, coming to the characteristics of environment, an environment consists of all the things, both non-material and material, living beings as well as non-living beings. Living beings, you have human beings, you have plants, you have different types of organisms, you have different types of animals. So all these, and all their forms of behavior, interaction, transaction, among all these things always have a embedded meaning, which has some emotional qualities with a very coherent space and time. So, an environmental factor, ecological factor, whatever, biotic or abiotic, as I told you, that influences the living organisms. So, we cannot stay only, like, if I put you into a swimming pool, if I otherwise I can put you into a pond. How long can you survive? If the that is what. So in an environment, if we need to stay together, we have to have the biotic factors as well as we need to have the abiotic factors. And this abiotic factors, as I told you, it includes the weather conditions, it includes, temperatures, rainfall, sunlight, pH of the water soil in which an organism lives. So everything is required. See, if it rains for 10 days, so how you feel? You feel when the sun will shine, you're waiting for the sun to shine. So everything is needed. Rainfall is also required, sunshine is also required, temperature should also be required. Now this is an environmental factor. So what is, these are all the characteristics of environmental and environmental factors which play a very important role. Now we need to depend on the living organisms within their environment. Okay, so there is always an interdependence among the living organisms. There are species, there's a population, all the species together make the population, and then they together form a community, and this community together form the ecosystem. Species, basically, when we talk about species, it means the, organisms of the same kind. If you go to hill station, you will find a type of a different type of species there. Okay, if you go to the forest, you will find all types of animals and all. Again, if you go to the beaches, you will find different types of aquatic animals. There, you in the beach you won't find tigers, you will find the tigers in the forest. But different types of marine organisms and all, aquatic organisms, fishes and all, that you'll find in the beaches or in the ponds or in the lakes or in the oceans. So species, when we talk about species, it is basically organisms of the same kind. Together they form the population. So many organisms of the same species, they together form the population. Then the population forms a community, different populations in different habitats. Like you'll be having, you know different types of animals, different types of different types of aquatic organisms. Then you will find microorganisms. Each and every, they have a different, together they form a population, and together they are in a community. So different populations in different habitats. Then you will find a ecosystem together, so all the species, then they together form the population, and the population together form the community. Then the together this they form an ecosystem. So living components and non-living components, they interact in this ecosystem. So the ecosystem has to be very strong, has to be very robust, there should not be any deficiency. Without the ecosystem we cannot survive. So many living organisms, many living things interact with other organisms in their environment. Sometimes we have viral fever. That means these are microorganisms, viral, viruses. They affect us. We get. We suffer from different types of diseases like fungal diseases, then and some bacterial diseases. So it means that all throughout our the environment there are organisms just going, they are just floating. You may not be able to, it is not visible that the different types of organisms are floating, but we have to interact with them, because unless and until we have that power, sustainability, we cannot sustain in the environment. So we have to live with those organisms, whether it's a parasites, or whether microorganisms like viruses, bacteria, or fungi, everything is there. So we have to interact with these organisms in this environment. So at the same time, they also need other organisms in order to survive. So that is what survival is very important, and this is known as interdependence. So we have to depend on different organisms, we also need to depend on them, they also need to depend on us. So for example, living things cannot make their own food, they must eat other organisms for food. For example, now we human beings, we can cook food, whatever, we can get the vegetables from the market, we can cook the vegetables, and as per our taste, as per our likings, we can prepare the vegetables. but do you think that whether animals can prepare their own food? No, they cannot prepare their own food. So they have to, some animals, they have to survive on plants, they eat plants. Some animals, they do not eat plants, but they eat other animals, other living organisms. So that is how we have to depend on each other. So that is why interdependence of living organisms within the environment is very essential. So now coming to the linkages in nature, I'll go through this linkages in nature, but after studying this unit, you should be able to define, these are very important, what is an ecosystem, what is its importance, then what are the characteristics of an ecosystem, what are the components of an ecosystem, then you should know how to distinguish among the different classes of the biotic components, and what is the basis of relationship among different living organisms in the ecosystem. Then we will define, we'll slowly go through, but after studying this unit you should be able to understand, you should be able to relate, what do you mean by food chain, what do you mean by food web, what do you mean by trophic level, and you have to show their functional relationship in a ecosystem. Then you should also know the flow of energy in the ecosystem, which highlights the its significance, its importance of energy transfer through trophic levels, and understand that no component of the ecosystem can exist in isolation. As I told you, we cannot stay in isolation. There is always an interdependence. We have to depend on others. Nobody can exist in isolation. And we have to relate the activities of the tourism industry to nature, conforming to the ecological principles and relationships. Now, this environment, we are studying about environment, and when we talk about tourism, ecotourism, why I took the word ecotourism, also known as responsible tourism, because the environment, when we tourists visit different locations which are uh, they stay with the nature, they stay with the they stay in cottages, they get to see how the natural beauty of a place is. So in that way you have to conserve the natural beauty of the place. That is why ecotourism is very important. And basically ecotourism basically deals with interaction with biotic components of the natural environments. This year the theme of tourism was green tourism. That is very much related with the environment. And responsible ecotourism programs, there are a lot of responsible ecotourism programs are coming up, because these programs include those that minimize those that minimize the negative impacts and aspects of conventional tourism on the environment, and enhance the cultural integrity of the local people. Now, suppose we go to any destination, we go to a metro city, or we go to any tourist destination, where there are a lot of hotels, there are 3 stars hotels, 4-star hotels, 5-star of hotels, and you get, whatever the lot of different types of dishes on the menu card. You enjoy the beauty of that place. You stay in a 5-star hotel. That is a very conventional tourism, what it is known as. But if you go to any village, a resort place, where you have to stay with the nature, where you learn about the what type of vegetables have been grown there, how the natural beauty of the place, what is the, you interact with the local people, you come to know about their culture, you come to know about the food they prepare. This is how the interaction is required, and we have to need to depend on that. I mean, it's very natural, it is not artificial, what I mean to say. You come to know about the inhabitants of that particular area, the culture they have, the food they eat, the way they spend their time. So that is why you have to depend on the environment, natural environment. So therefore, you have to enhance the cultural integrity of the local people. So in addition to evaluating environmental and cultural factors, an integral part of ecotourism is the promotion of recycling, then energy efficiency, water conservation. These are very important factors, and the creation of economic opportunities for local communities. So, when tourists are visiting those places, the it also promotes the uh, enhancing the local community in getting jobs. Okay, so there are a lot of economic opportunities for the local communities, and it also empowers the economic growth of the country, economic growth of that particular place, which results also the economic growth of the state, the country as a whole. So for these reasons ecotourism often appeals to advocates of environmental and social responsibility. Now, ecosystem. So, ecosystem, it can be the biosphere, it can be the earth, it can be the forest, it can be the rivers, it can be the mountains, islands, then even a rock, everything comes under the ecosystem. It is basically a handy operational term that can be applied to any skill. And in tourism, it is often applied in the context of a destination. That is the ecosystem of the destination. So there is always an ecosystem within an ecosystem, and yet another ecosystem within. The whole biosphere is an ecosystem, and so are its components, which includes the earth, the atmosphere, which in turn have small ecosystems. So you have small ecosystem, you have a medium ecosystem, you have a large ecosystem. So basically this ecosystem is a unit of the nature that is in itself an independent functional entity, and the ecosystem is an intricate network consisting of biotic and abiotic factors connected through complex interactions that arise between the biotic and abiotic components. So ecosystem basically vary in complexity. But beside this lot of variations in different ecosystems, the underlying basic ecological principles and processes are similar. Let me check. Is it audible? Hamza, Shreya, Hamza, Ahmed, Abdullah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
We
okay,
can
fine.
hear
Huh?
you, my audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Huh. Whenever you have any, matlab, it is not visible or not audible, the slide is, please do let me know. Huh? One
Okay.
second. Hmm. So, there is a term you might have read about environmental science in your, there's a subject called geography, geography, then social science. So, in schools, you might have read about all these terms like photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? So, in today, also in this environment ecology chapter, in this unit, we need to learn, you just recollect, you need to recall all these terms. Why you need to recall? Because the thing is that, as I told you, this chapter is all about environment and how tourism is related to the environment. So what happened? Green plants use light for photosynthesis as a source of energy for making food using carbon dioxide. So the term is photosynthesis. What does it mean? It's basically green lights prepare their food with the help of sunlight, water, and few minerals. So this process is known as photosynthesis. Oxygen, like we need oxygen for our survival, whereas the plants need carbon dioxide for their survival. So oxygen, the much needed gas for survival, is released as a byproduct of photosynthesis. See, we inhale oxygen, we take out carbon dioxide, and the environment is full of oxygen as well as oxygen. The plants, they inhale carbon dioxide, and with the help of sunlight, with the help of water, as with the help of few minerals, they prepare the food, and this process is known as photosynthesis. But at the same time, oxygen is there, it is in abundant, and the much needed gas which is necessary for our survival, this oxygen is released as a byproduct of photosynthesis. Clear? So all living beings, see, we are also there, human beings, animals are also there, plants are there. So oxygen is also there, carbon dioxide is also there. And we lot of vehicles, this a lot of vehicles are there, coming up, and they are making the environment polluted. How pollution arise, people have lot of health issues like breathing problems because of pollutions and all. So we have to take care of all this. We have to safeguard our environment. So all living beings in an ecosystem are related among themselves through food. Now, broadly, as I told you, organisms are broadly divided into two categories. One is the producer and the consumer. Who are the producers? Basically, the plants are the producers. Who are the consumers? The consumers are the animals. Also, we are also human beings, we are also consumers. Okay. Now, the green plants are producers. Why? Because they have the capacity to manufacture their own food. Suppose we want to sow any green vegetables. Okay. What we do? We have to sow the green vegetables, we put the seeds, then then water is it is made available. Suppose we take the case of a field and we want to so wheat. Okay. Now wheat or rice or any vegetables, you take the example of vegetables. So what we have to sow the seeds, we have to put water, we have to put different types of chemicals, so that it gives it produces the flowers, it produces the output, that is the vegetables. So that is, but how this process takes place, this vegetable process, I mean how this process takes place, this is basically the green plants, they prepare the food with the help of carbon dioxide, water, and different types of minerals that we provide, and this process is known as photosynthesis. So all living beings, the green plants, basically they are the producers, as they have the capacity to manufacture their own food. Now there are also microorganisms, there are algae, there is, each and every organism, there is, that is some beneficial is there. They have some beneficial, one side they have the some nutrients, on the other side they may be also causing some problems, to the environment also. So animals and most microorganisms, to obtain energy and nutrition, they eat plants directly or feed on plants indirectly by eating other organisms. See, maybe there are some animals where you'll find those animals eat only animals, okay? But those the animals they eat, those animals, they, for example, a tiger, you take the example of tiger. A tiger eats a cow. Now the cow eats what? The cow doesn't now the cow doesn't eat non-veg items. I mean, they don't eat any animals. They depend on the vegetables, they depend on the plants as their food. So that is what animals and most microorganisms, to obtain energy and nutrition, they eat plants directly or feed on plants indirectly by eating other organisms. So therefore animals and most microorganisms are consumers. Okay. So, as I told you, plants are basically the producers, and these animals, as well as the microorganisms, they are the consumers. And consumers may belong to any one of the four classes on the basis of their food sources. One is the herbivores, that is only they eat the plants. Then there is the carnivores, which eat the animals, omnivores, and there are the detritus feeders. Now, this is what an ecosystem. See, you can see here there are bacteria, they are also decomposers. The plants, depend on this bacteria. Then animals, they eat those plants. So this is how the ecosystem runs. And I have shown you a food chain. See, this is the grass, this is the producer. How the grass prepared the food? With the help of photosynthesis, with the help of carbon dioxide, with the help of minerals, water, and the process through which they prepare the food is known as photosynthesis. Now you find out grasshoppers. The grasshoppers are small, small microorganisms. You can small organisms. Okay, so the grasshoppers, they usually depend on the grass. That is the reason they are known as grasshoppers, because they feed on the grass. They feed on the grass. The grasshoppers feed on the grass. Now you will find the grasshoppers, you will find all these birds. What happened? The birds try to eat the grasshoppers. Yes or no? You will find the birds, they feed on the grasshoppers. Then comes the snakes. You have seen the snakes. Sometimes you will find them, they are eating those birds, the small microorganisms. Then you'll find the owl. They are known as, so what happened? You just see the grass that is being eaten by the grasshopper. Who is the grasshopper? They are the primary consumer. Now, these grasshoppers, who feeds the grasshoppers? The birds feed the grasshoppers. So they are the secondary consumer. Then there are the snakes who eat these birds, who feed on these birds. They are the known as the snakes and all. They are known as the tertiary consumers. Then there are the owls. There are you'll find like cranes and all. Those are the different types of birds are there. So they are the predators. They eat all those snakes and other aquatic organisms. Then you have the decomposers. These are, you see the algae and all. So this is how it's a food chain. It is rotating. Clear? So there is interrelations and interdependence. Now, the trophic relationships of an ecosystem can be summarized in the form of ecological pyramids. The base of the pyramid basically represents the first trophic level, which is the producers, that is the plants, and the rest constitute the consumers, while the apex represents the tertiary consumers. Now, there are three kinds of ecological pyramids. So, there are three kinds of ecological pyramids. Okay, one second, 1 minute. So we are like, there is pyramid of numbers, and this pyramid of numbers, represent the pyramids of numbers represents the number of organisms at each trophic level. So the second is the pyramid of biomass. First is, the first trophic level is the producers, that is the plants. Then comes the second level. The second level is the pyramid of biomass. Now the question comes, what do you mean by biomass? Biomass is basically the dry weight of living matter at a particular time. So to calculate the biomass of, say, the producers, it is necessary to collect and weigh the plants of a given area. So the biomass of consumers can be determined by first counting the number of different types of animals. That is the reason, I told you there's a species, then comes population, then comes community. So that is, first is the species, then comes the your population, then comes the community. So the biomass of consumers can be determined by first counting the number of different types of animals. Then the total number is multiplied by the average weight per individual. That gives the approximate biomass at each trophic level. So we can understand, at this trophic level, the biomass is so much. This trophic level, the biomass is so much. And the third type is known as the pyramid of energy, which illustrates basically the energy structure of ecosystem. So these three things you should remember. The pyramid, it consists of three, there are three levels. First level is the producers, second level is the pyramid of biomass, and the third is the pyramid of energy. Uh-huh. Now the linkages. See, as I told you, linkages. There is always an interrelation. We have to depend on somebody. We have to depend on the. As I told you, we have to depend on the environment. You have to stay in harmony with the nature. That is very important. There is always a linkage. So similarly, by harnessing and storing the solar energy is basically the sunlight in the form of carbohydrates, the primary producers. Who are the primary producers? The primary producers are basically the plants. They form a direct link between the abiotic and biotic components. Now, biotic components are plants, animals, living beings, and all. Whereas abiotic components are temperature, rainfall, then weather conditions. These are abiotic. So only if the primary producers, that is the plants cannot prepare only food with the help of sunlight. At the same time, along with the sunlight, they also need energy, they also need minerals, they also need water. So this water, minerals, what are they form the abiotic. Okay, so that is what is abiotic. So by harnessing and storing the solar energy, that is the sunlight, in the form of carbohydrates, because the sunlight is stored in the form of carbohydrates, the primary producers, that is the plants, they form a direct link between the biotic and abiotic components. Now comes the herbivores. They fulfill their energy needs in the form of food from green plants, and in turn serve as energy source for the carnivores, because these carnivores are the one which depend on the herbivores, and the herbivores are the one which depends on the plants. Herbivores are basically who do not who only feed on plants, green plants. Then whereas the carnivores are the one who eat animals. Okay, so the herbivores are the one which depend on the plants, and carnivores are the ones which depend on the herbivores. So they eat the fleshy part of the organisms, fleshy part of human beings, fleshy part of animals. Okay, now, in this case, energy transfer sequence through there's a transfer of energy, and this sequence of energy takes place through the food chain. As I have showed you, this is known as this is the food chain. This is what is the food. The grass, then comes the grasshopper, then comes the bluebird, then comes the snake, then comes the owl, and then again this decompose takes place, and again the plants get their minerals from there, and again it grows and now it becomes the food of the grasshopper. So similarly, the energy obtained by energy transfer takes place through the food chain and food web, which provide strong linkages for interconnecting living organisms in the ecosystem. So what we say, all the organisms are there present in the ecosystem. And it is, one cannot, if you just leave only plants, after some days it will die. So plants need to have sunlight, plants need to have water, plants need to have, here there should be animals, there should be human beings. So everybody's existence is very much necessary, and there is always a linkage. So the energy obtained by each of these organisms is not utilized 100%. That is also very true. So only a fraction of this energy is utilized, and it is leaked and dissipated into the environment in the form of heat. This thus forms an important linkage between biotic and abiotic components. Now there's, you'll find, you'll find rainfall. Okay, so you'll find, it's the plants cannot grow without the rain. Okay, so there's a rainfall, but it doesn't mean that they will utilize the whole rain. Some will be just getting wasted also. So yes, some of the form of energy is utilized, and some gets, uh, some just gets drained away. So there are, the metabolic wastes. There are some waste are being created, the metabolic waste and dead organic matter. They also provide another major linkages between biotic and abiotic components. So we know the microorganisms, like the novel, bacteria, then there are fungi, then there fungus, then there's the bacteria, then the virus and other worms, and which and other decomposers, they fulfill their energy requirements for their life processes from dead organic matter. Okay, so in this process, the undesirable wastes are processed and broken into elementary elements. And this, what these elements are, these elements are carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, which are very much help in renewing the supply of nutrients for the use of green plants to the environment. And that is the reason how the linkage is formed between biotic and abiotic. Okay, you will find light, you will find temperature, then there is the soil, on which the plant grows, there is the pH level, whether it's alkaline or acid salt. I mean, variety is there, but a normal, if I say a normal, if you see from a very uh, layman's perspective, so these are the very much requirements. Water is required, light is required, then temperature, there may be high temperature, low. See, all plants cannot survive in low temperature. Some plants require high temperature. So it varies. Variation is there, But as I tell, from a layman's context, from a perspective, these are very minimum requirements, that is which forms the linkages. So biotic and abiotic factors, there's always a linkage between the biotic and abiotic, whether it's the sunlight, whether it's the, there are some plants which cannot grow, under too much strong sunlight. Okay, so you have to grow in them in a different climate. So climatic conditions are there, weather conditions are there, energy is there, sunlight is there, it varies. Okay, but all these are required. Now, coming to the summary, like, water is also required, soil is also required, wind is also required, rain is also required. So you might have studied in your geography, social sciences, evaporation, sublimation. So this is how everything, we have a natural, it is not, these are all natural, essence. These are not your man-made. Okay, so summary, basically the environment consists of biotic as well as abiotic components that are interrelated in an ecosystem. So both biotic and abiotic components are interrelated in an ecosystem, and the ultimate source of energy for all ecosystem is the sun. You know, that is what is very important, because unless and you have day, you have night, how it is process is taking place. We have different types of eclipses, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse and all. So the main ultimate source of energy for all ecosystem is the sun. So the producers, What the producer, see, you have heard of solar energy. For example, we prepare a food, with coal. We prepare a food with now LPG is there, liquefied petroleum gas, through which we prepare a food. The food is being prepared, okay. But are you aware that if we can capture and use the sunlight, then we can prepare food also. That is known as solar energy. It is a very low process. I mean, it's a very lengthy process, and it is a very low process. What happens initially, there we have to capture the sunlight, then we have to keep it in such a way that those can be utilized. In nowadays, most of the buildings are utilizing the solar energy, so even if you don't have electricity, you can utilize the solar energy for providing us electricity. So that is how. But we have to. There are different types of mechanisms where we need to capture the solar energy. But plants, they have that power. They have that. I mean, they are made in such a way that they can capture the sunlight. Okay, so the ultimate source of energy for all ecosystem is the sun, and the producers are capable of trapping the sun's energy and converting it into biomass. And herbivores feed on producers and are in turn eaten by carnivores, which may be eaten by other carnivores, constituting the food chain. So the starting point of grazing food chains is always a producer, followed by a series of consumers, each of which feeds on the later. And there is the detritus food chains, which begin with dead organic matter that is consumed by decomposers like bacteria, fungi, as well as various soil animals. Sometimes we throw away, suppose like rats and all. You'll find lot of rats and all, then leeches, cockroaches. What we do, we just try. There are a lot of insecticides or pesticides. I mean, they are at one point of time, they become dead. So, but this dead organic matter, they are being fed on, they are consumed by decomposers. Who are the decomposers? Like bacteria, fungi. They feed on those decomposers. Okay. So that is how detritus, they form a detritus food chain. So detritus food chains begin with dead organic matter that is consumed by decomposers like bacteria, fungi, as well as various soil animals. And each level in the food chain is known as the trophic level. As I have showed you, this is the different types of level. One is the trophic level, then comes the pyramid of biomass, then comes the first is the pyramid of numbers. I mean, these are different trophic levels. One is the pyramid of numbers, that is represent the number of organisms at each trophic level. Then comes the pyramid of biomass, and the third one is the pyramid of energy. So, yes, one second. So, this is how it is, summary I have told you, like I have tried to summarize. Each level in the food chain is known as the trophic level. Now, ecosystems, generally they have a relatively large producer base with successively smaller numbers of herbivores, carnivores, and top carnivores. Okay, so energy flows through an ecosystem. Trophic levels, then it forms of food chains and food waves. They track the flow of energy, and each time that the energy passes from one trophic level to the next, about 90% of the energy is lost, and only 10% is incorporated into the body tissues of organisms of the next higher trophic level. So a biotic community represents interacting populations of organisms in an area, and these organisms are interrelated in a variety of ways through the food chains, forming a food web. And the trophic relations basically in an ecosystem can also be represented in the form of pyramid of numbers, as I have mentioned, biomass or energy. These are the trophic level. First one is the pyramid of number, second one is the pyramid of biomass, and the third one is the pyramid of energy. Now, all the biotic and abiotic components, they are linked to each other, and it is important to understand the linkages in the nature to avoid any disruption of the nature. Now coming to the biomes of the world. Acha, what do you mean by the biomes of the world? Basically, we will be covering here, to understand the concept of biomes, to know about the major terrestrial and aquatic biomes of the world, as well as about the biomes found in a country, to understand the relationship between climate and biome types, and to identify the main features of each biome. Okay. Now, yes, these are all the terrestrial biomes of the world. We'll go into details. Like, we have, these are different terrestrial biomes of the world. You may get a question, what are the different terrestrial biomes of the world? In your exam, the question may come. So you should remember all this, like the tundra, the coniferous forest, the temperate deciduous forest, the temperate shrublands, the grasslands, the deserts, the tropical savannas, tropical deciduous forest, tropical rainforest. They all form a part of they are the terrestrial biomes of the world. Now, then there are the freshwater biomes. Freshwater biomes, basically they are the plants, plants, I'm sorry, they are the aquatic organisms. Aquatic organisms where you need to, one second, where maritime biomes, where you'll have ponds, where you have lakes, and you have oceans. And in ponds you'll find a type of fish, whereas in oceans you'll find leaves, you'll find types of different types of fish. You'll find whales. Whales are considered as animals. Then you'll find coral reefs. So wetlands and estuaries, so those are aquatic biomes. No, this is, biomes of India. I have tried to figure it out, the biomes of India as well as some biomes of Africa also. Now, these are the biomes of India. That is the tundra, the temperate coniferous forest, the tropical evergreen rainforest, the tropical deciduous forest, the savanna, grasslands, and the desert. I've just tried to find out, these are the some biomes in South Africa also. Largest terrestrial biome in South Africa, that is the savanna biome. It is the largest biome in South Africa, occupying around 46% of its area and cover one third the area of South Africa. It is well developed over the Lowville and Kalahari region of South Africa and is also the dominant vegetation in Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. And the three biomes of Africa are savannas, the thickets, and the forests. Africa is known for its thick forests and jungles, and of course the savannas, then its animals and all. Okay. So, if I tell you what are the biomes, basically biomes are climatically distinct regions, have specific plant and animal species, and very broadly, the biomes of the world can be divided into terrestrial as well as the aquatic. And there are around major terrestrial biomes, and these are named after the dominant vegetation of the region. And the northernmost extremely cold land biome is the tundra that I was telling you. That is the cold land biome is the tundra, which is dominated by low-lying cold-resistant plant species. Then there are also few species with a great number of individuals of each species. The taiga is a biome dominated by coniferous forest. You know about pine forest and all. The taiga is a biome dominated by coniferous forest and is found like a circumpolar belt on the continents in the northern hemisphere. Then there comes a temperate deciduous forest. It is a biome which is dominated by broad leaf trees that shed their leaves during the cold winters, and the summers are warm and moist in these biomes. And like temperate shrublands occur in coastal regions marked by winter rainfall and summer droughts, and are dominated by evergreens, which have been adapted to these conditions. Then there are the grasslands. Basically grasslands occur where the rainfall is more than the deserts. Deserts you won't find any. Desert have different types of animals. Like in desert you will find camels, but in thick jungle forest you won't find camels. You'll find tigers, you'll find cheetahs, you'll find lions, you'll find elephants and all. Okay. So so grasslands occur where the rainfall is more than deserts but less to support forests in the dry interiors of the continents like America, Asia, and Australia. So before that, I just wanted to throw some like about the biodiversity. There are a lot of sustainable tourism management in Africa national parks and protected areas. There are conferences that has been taken place where lots of challenges and opportunities are being discussed, and there are some protected areas also, and those protected areas are basically the core of the tourism sector in many African countries, and especially they are the assets for any African tourism because they create a distinctive offer that differentiates Africa from destinations elsewhere in the world. That is the reason I told you, like the Africa is having the largest terrestrial biome. I mean, that is found in South Africa. So now, it also have deserts. You have deserts, especially when we talk about deserts, they have hot days and cold nights with very less rainfall, and plants and animal species are found there, and of course they are well adapted to these conditions. Now, for example, you take the example of cactus is a type of plant, but it does not require much water, but you will find lot of cactus in the deserts. Okay. So every, whether it is the grasslands, whether it is the savannas, whether it is the coniferous, you will find different types of plants, different types of species are there. Okay. Species means they belong to the same community, okay, of the same origin. So in the tropical regions, grasslands with scattered trees are known as a savanna, and the tropical regions with maximum plant and animal species are the tropical rainforest, where high temperature and rainfall permit plants to grow throughout the year. In tropical areas where rainfall is high, but seasonal monsoon forests or deciduous forests occur. So the aquatic biomes of the world can be classified as freshwater and marine according to the salinity of water. So here comes the question, what do you mean by freshwater? What do you mean by marine? Now freshwater is basically, like you have lakes, you have ponds, these are all freshwater. Whereas marine are basically the uh, oceans and all. Okay. Now all there are different types of fishes. See, whale cannot live in a, it lives in the ocean. It cannot live in a pond. I know there is because marine, they have a different salinity, depends. The pH value varies. So the freshwater biomes are the stream rivers, as I've told you. There basically you will find the uh, different types of species, the different types of fishes, different types of plants you'll also find, which you'll find in rivers and lakes. Whereas, and also some animals and plant species, and they have adapted themselves accordingly. There is a very typical word, that is adaptation. So you should know where to adapt. That is what is the biosphere consists of. If you are being, now suppose I belong to a place where the temperature is very moderate. Now, if I am being told to go and visit a hill station where the temperature is minus 1, minus 5, minus 10, for me it would be very difficult to survive. Okay, I may stay for 5 days, 10 days, but so the adaptation is very important. So similarly, plants, animals, species, depending on the weather, climatic conditions, they adapt themselves. That is why, there is an ecosystem, then within that ecosystem there is another ecosystem, within that ecosystem there is another ecosystem. So the aquatic biomes of the world can be classified as freshwater and marine according to the salinity of the waters. And these freshwater biomes are the stream, rivers, and lakes, and animals and plant species which are adapted accordingly. And the marine biomes consist of the oceans, coastal regions, and islands. And the distribution of animals and plants is limited by availability of light and nutrients. So, as you told, nutrients are there. This nutrients depends on the salinity of the water, and there are some specialized marine biomes, so the coral reefs. Where you will find coral reefs? You will find the coral reefs in Australia. Okay, Australia is full of coral reefs. Okay, so you will find estuaries, you will find wetland. But the Indian subcontinent has a lot of variation in climate. Okay, winter season, rainy season, then you have summer season. So all type of season is there. So there is also different variation in the types of soils, and as per the soil you will also find a different variation in the vegetation. Now this is the reason why all biome types of the world find a representation here. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. I'll just have a glass of water. Okay. So, you know, as I was telling, the Indian subcontinent that has a lot of variation in climate, different types of soil, and therefore also there's a lot of vegetation grown as per, suppose in Philly, suppose you take the example of the tea. Okay, so the tea plants are grown not in a plain land; they are grown in the hill stations. Okay, so because that is because they require a type of climatic, they need a different type of climatic conditions. So depending on that, the hill stations are the places where tea plants are grown. You won't find tea plants in normal plain lands. You even a plateau has a different types of vegetation. The plain lands have different types of vegetation. So this is the reason why all the biome types of the world find a representation in India. Okay, now, there are communities in nature. Now, when we talk about the communities in nature, you know, you should be able, there are a lot of communities has to be there in the nature also, because we need to understand the basic characteristics of a community. We should try to, what are the different communities, how they are being formed, and we should also appreciate the nature and importance of interactions among the different species and individuals in a living community. See, you might be wondering, this TS-5 is all about ecology, environment, okay, and then tourism. Like because as I told you, tourism is a major economic sector, globally. And the thing is that we have to depend on the environment. So our basic, we need to understand, we know what is tourism all about, but we need to understand the grassroots level. In that way, we have to protect the environment. So that is the reason why this is all you need to understand. This has also, because the next units won't be much, but the first unit basically you have to know what are communities, how you have to adapt, how they have to, what is the importance of those interactions, how the plants, animals, species have to adapt themselves as per the temperature of the particular place. So we need to appreciate the nature and importance of interactions among different species and individuals in a living community. At the same time, we need to learn about the lot of strategies, different types of steps that needs to be followed, that needs to be adapted by the living organisms to share and utilize the available resources. See, we human beings can talk, okay, but plants cannot talk, animals cannot talk, but they are also surviving. How they are surviving? When we are feeling hungry, we tell, please give us food. You want to eat something or you want to drink something. That is what happens. But that is not. But still then they are surviving. How it is possible? So we need to learn about the strategies adapted by the living organisms to share and utilize the available resources. Then we also need to realize the importance of the concept of interconnectivity and to develop a holistic perspective of nature. We have to stay in harmony with the nature, with the environment. We have to formulate biodiversity friendly tourism norms and practices. See, plants and animals, they can survive, they know how to prepare their food. Animals, they have to depend on the plants, but we human beings, we have brains. So we need to formulate. That is what is important. God has given us the brains where we need to formulate, strategies. We need to formulate policies. We need to formulate different norms, different practices, so that we can save the environment. We can protect the environment. That is what is very important. Okay. So we have to formulate biodiversity friendly tourism norms and practices. Now coming to community characteristics. As I was telling, what is communities in nature. Now community characteristics. Now species means individuals of the same species. They constitute a population. What is a population? When there's a species which is of the same, they have the same eating habits, they have the same types of reproduction, they need the same type of temperature, they need the same type of climatic conditions to reproduce, so multiply and all things. So they together form a population. So individuals of the same species, they constitute a population. Now, after that, population of different species, whether it's plants or whether it's animals, they inhabit and share the resources of an area which is collectively called a biotic community or simply a community. So, a community together with its surrounding non-living environment is called an ecosystem. So, basically in ecosystem you will find living as well as non-living organisms. Okay. So now there are this community, there are three important characteristics of community. What are the three characteristics? One is the productivity, second one is the diversity, and the third one is the resilience. Productivity is, it is audible?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Okay. Hope you are able to understand.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So, yes.
Oh,
So, what I was telling, the characteristics of community, there are these are the three vital characteristics of a community. One is the productivity, another is the diversity, and the third is the resilience. See, first comes the productivity. So, that is the production of biomass. We have learned what is biomass, and biomass is basically, it is a manifestation clubbing of energy storage transfer reactions. So, a manifestation of energy storage transfer reactions, productivity. Then comes diversity. The word diverse itself means a varied. Okay, so there's a lot varied of species of plants and animals. You'll go to Africa, you'll find a different type of grassland. You'll have different type of culture. You'll have different types of food. You'll come to India, you have a different climatic conditions. You have different types of people, and weather, climatic conditions, and you'll find arena of cultures, some, the some, nowadays you'll find, organic vegetables and all. Some vegetables are grown in the Himalayas, some vegetables are grown in the hill stations, some vegetation is you'll find in the plain land, some you'll find in the plateau. So all together it forms a varied, there's a variety of species of plants and animals. Okay, so diversity. So we are living in a diversified community. So there's a variety of species of plants and animals. Then comes the resilience. What do you mean by resilience? Now you just in 2020 we were, there was this COVID. Okay, so all of us, I mean, we know all of us has gone through this COVID situation. How, I mean, it's a novel, organism, how it had an impact on the environment, on the globe together. But I mean, there were a lot of, but however, there are a lot of disturbance are taken place. Okay, but this disturbance, the virus, this disturbance, after that they had to recover from those type of disturbance. So this recovering from a disturbance is known as resilience. So as I told you, some microorganisms, dead microorganisms are there, and some organisms, plants, they feed on them. Not plants, the animals feed on them. And those microorganisms also act as fertilizers for the plants, and slowly the plants grow, and then the animals feed on the plants. But there are dead microorganisms which act as fertilizers, chemicals for the plants, minerals for the plants, and slowly the plants grow. And when the plants grow, the animals depend, or the, like flies and grasshoppers, they feed on those type of plants, and then animals feed on those type of flies, grasshoppers and animals. So this is all a change. So the thing is that what is resilience is basically, this is a capacity, of a community to recover from any kind of disturbance. Okay, so that is known as resilience. So there is a species interaction. There's always an interaction with the communities. There's the dominant plants which define the conditions. Okay, and what do you mean by dominant? Dominant means you'll find trees, and you'll find shrubs, you'll find herbs, you'll find plants, you'll find trees. Okay, so there are different types of species. See, what are herbs, what are shrubs, you'll find herbs, you'll find shrubs. These shrubs and herbs are also used as, for different vegetation. Sometimes they are being used for medicine. There are medicinal plants. Some plants are used to enhance the aroma of food. Then some, some are used to enhance the aroma of the food. Some are used to give a special effect on the food. So see how it is important. So this is, as well as you have then plants, which are, there are some organic plants, then there are some floral plants, then there are some, beautification plants which are used to beautify the landscapes. And there are the trees also. Some trees they bear fruit, some trees they bear some, they may not bear fruits or something, but yes, they also, give shadows and all. So that is, each and every organism has some importance to the, have some contribution to the nature, has some contribution towards the environment. But how this depends on their growth, the stage of their growth, the different environment, the different conditions make some plants, some trees very dominant. So there are different kinds of interactions are there. So one kind of interaction is known as predation. What is predation? Predation is basically an important factor that determines balance in communities. Then there is a competition. Competition, the word competition. So there is always some competitions going on. So sometimes you will find, algae, you'll find in ponds and lakes, that it is not being used. After sometimes it is being filled with algae and all, then you'll find lot of algae. Slowly you'll find few, then it has slowly it has increased. So this, I mean, they keep on producing, reproducing and all. So competition is always there. Then comes the symbiosis. Like these are the three types of kinds of interaction. One is the predation, one is the competition, the third one is the symbiosis. What is symbiosis? Symbiosis is basically non-antagonistic interactions which are being exhibited by the organisms, and these symbiotic relationships are those in which two species of organisms live together in close association. See, there is always a linkage, For example, just take a small example. I belong to one country, India. You all belong to African countries. Why you wanted to know the tourism of our country? I also wanted to know the tourism about your country. We wanted to know the culture of our country. You also wanted to, I wanted to know the culture of your country. You also wanted to know the culture of our country. There are an exchange of students. I teach in a university where students from different countries are studying here. Kenya, Uganda, Philippines. So there are varieties of, then Nigeria. They are all studying here. Some of them are studying engineering. Some of them are studying. Medical, some of them are studying hotel management. So initially, when they come, they are not able to adapt with the food culture, but slowly they are adapting the food culture. They are coming to know about how the people talk, what is their language, what they eat, what are the festivals they celebrate. So these you have to, so similarly species also, they have to live together in close association. So that is what the word symbiosis denotes. Okay, so this association is the result of co-evolution of the symbiotic species over the geological time scale. Okay, so species interaction within the communities is, there are three kinds of interactions basically. One is the predation, what is the competition, and the another is the symbiosis. So symbiosis is very important, very important, because the symbiotic relationships are those in which two species of organisms, they live together in close association. Now here comes the organization in communities. So you have resource partitioning and you have stratification. Okay, so when we talk about resource partitioning, organization in communities, resource partitioning. Now, each species knows which resources is to be utilized at what time and from where. That is very important. We should know. If we look at the human beings, from the nomadic stage, they didn't know how to prepare food. They used to depend on the plants for their food, but slowly and slowly how the evolution took place, they started preparing food. They invented fire. How they invented fire? They had to, two rocks, when they crushed, or when they were started rubbing two rocks, the fire was produced. Then they started to prepare, taking the plants and taking, leaves, then taking animals, and they killed animals, small animals, they roasted them, then they ate them. Then slowly by slowly, different types of, human beings, they slowly evolution took place. They came to learn what is everything. So human brain is so, technology has advanced. When we are at such a stage, now everything runs on artificial technology. Okay, everything. But even when artificial intelligence comes, AI or machine learning, or your, everything is there with the help of, today I'm able to take the class because with the help of technology and all. But still then we need to depend on the environment. We have to depend on the plant species. And therefore the thing is this, why I told you, because we need to know at what time and from where it is, which resources has to be utilized. So resource partitioning is basically each species knows which resources is to be utilized at what time and from where. All this information is inbuilt in their genetic makeup. So that is what is known as resource partitioning. Then there comes a stratification. Stratification of a community is determined largely by the life form of plants, that is their size, branching pattern, and leaves. As I told you, There are shrubs, there are herbs, there are plants, there are, there's then there are the trees, you know, all these flora and fauna of an environment. There's always a stratification of a community. So because it is basically determined largely by the life form of plants, their size, branching pattern, and leaves. Okay. Now comes biodiversity. What is biodiversity? Now, biodiversity is very important. It is basically the totality of genes, species, and ecosystems. Okay. So biodiversity is a totality of genes, species, and ecosystems. And according to the recent classification by the Wildlife Institutes of India, the country has divided into following biogeographic regions. One is the Trans-Himalayan, one is the Himalaya, then there comes the Indian desert, then comes the peninsula, Deccan Peninsula, then there comes the Gangetic Plain, then the Northeast India, then comes the island. So it has been divided into various biodiversities. So these Yes, importance now. This biodiversity is very important because there is we need to have an ecological balance, and sometimes due to pollution, due to population, due to overpopulation, due to pollution, due to overpopulation, due to deforestation, there is a loss in biodiversity. So there is also a fragmentation of habit. Suppose the fish, okay, we eat fish, okay. So what happened, the fish lives in water, but when we take the fish out of water, it cannot survive for a long time. Okay, 1 minute, just give me 2 minutes. हेलो हेलो हाँ आ जाऊंगी ओके अच्छा अच्छा ठीक है उसको भेजो so yeah, so this is like causes of biodiversity loss is there. There's loss and fragmentation of habitat, and there's over exploitation of plant and animal species. There's the pollution, there is the deforestation, degradation. All this takes place. And why this it is not only there, there is also a change in global climate also. So what we need to do, we have to conserve the biodiversity. That is very important. Okay. So just I wanted to tell you. Uh, hmm, I'll come. So uh, Hamza, Ahmed, did you all understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
First class. So just wanted to tell you, see, there is a scope to open up markets. We need to develop and the market and tourism products. Our tourism products are, all this flora, fauna, and also they role and especially since you all are from Africa, African destinations, they are relatively high cost, but they need to at the same time they need to develop products that justify higher cost and to communicate the value of these products through their marketing level. So there is always a scope to open up these markets. And one significant challenge I can say is that it is in most countries, especially they just one or a few protected areas, they receive lot of so destruction of site and marketing needs to be undertaken in ways that can spread visitation more evenly. And in some countries also, some tourism business have set up reserves, they set up their reserves on their own properties to create a wildlife resource that attract tourists. Okay, and there is always like public private partnerships are there, and there is also a role of this you can say stakeholders who have a very important role to play. Okay, so I'll just conclude over here, and maybe in my next class I can just I can teach the unit one as well. Is it okay? You have any questions related to this? Are you? I'm coming.
Hello, Hamza. Hello, Hamza.
Ranka da malamat.
Sorry, I'm like Amra.
Normal alhamdulillah ya abubuwa.
Alhamdulillah, kai ma kana fuskantar matsalar da karshe ba ma jin ta gaskiya.
Wallahi ai maybe ita ma network problem din ne yasa ta stepping down.
Amma duk da na ga dama tana cewa za ta stopin na iyaka, na ji kamar bayanin da take za ta tsaya haka.
Haka so naga suna recording ɗinsa kawai let us stop ko in ko za mu yi magana ta
To,
group.
ba matsala, alhamdulillah, insha Allah.
Mhm, mhm.